Wayne Rooney has never apologized for anything on live television. Not for the escort scandal, not for the drunk driving arrests, not for any of the countless controversies that marked his career. For 20 years he deflected, he blamed the media, he moved on without ever truly owning his mistakes, until November 2023, when he sat across from Conor McGregor on Sky Sports' The Debate and made the fatal error of calling him a bad role model for young athletes. What Conor said in response, calm, precise, and absolutely devastating, made Rooney go silent for 15 seconds before muttering 3 words he'd never said in public before: "You're right, sorry." This is what happened when England's golden boy met someone who refused to let hypocrisy slide, live on British television in front of 3 million viewers. To understand why this moment broke British sports media, you need to know 3 things. First, Wayne Rooney, 38 years old, is English football royalty, Manchester United legend, England's second highest goal scorer, 5 Premier League titles, a working-class hero from Liverpool who became one of the most recognizable athletes in the world. Since retirement, he'd become a pundit on Sky Sports, known for his straightforward analysis and his willingness to criticize modern footballers for lacking professionalism. Second, Conor McGregor had been invited onto the debate to discuss athlete conduct and social media responsibility. The show's producers knew it would be contentious. Rooney had been vocal in newspaper columns about fighters and combat athletes setting bad examples, and while he'd never named Conor directly, everyone knew who he meant. Third, the show was live, no delay, no editing, broadcast across the UK and Ireland during prime time on a Thursday evening. The set was typical sports debate format: 2 guests, a moderator, studio audience, cameras capturing every angle. The moderator, Kelly Cates, daughter of Liverpool legend Kenny Dalglish, sat between them, fully aware she was presiding over a potential powder keg. And exactly 18 minutes into the show, it exploded. The first 15 minutes had been routine. Kelly asked about social media's impact on athletes, about the pressure of constant scrutiny, about managing public image. Rooney spoke in his thick Scouse accent, measured and thoughtful, discussing how modern players need to be more careful about what they post online, about the responsibility that comes with having millions of followers. Conor listened, nodded occasionally, gave his own perspective about using social media as a tool rather than fearing it. The conversation was civil, professional, the kind of safe sports talk that fills airtime without incident. But then, Kelly shifted topics, and you could see her brace herself slightly as she asked the question. "Wayne, you've written recently about athletes needing to be better role models. You've been quite critical of certain sports, combat sports in particular. With Conor here, do you want to elaborate on that?" The studio audience stirred. Conor's expression didn't change, but his posture shifted slightly, more alert now. Rooney cleared his throat, looked directly at Conor, and spoke with the confidence of someone who thought he was on solid ground. "Look, I've got nothing personal against Conor," he began, his Liverpool accent thickening slightly as it always did when he was making a point he felt strongly about. "But I do think athletes, especially ones with huge platforms, have a responsibility to set a good example. And when I see behavior, the controversies, the court cases, the public incidents, I think it sends the wrong message to kids who look up to these people. We have to be better than that." The camera captured Conor's face in perfect detail. No anger, no defensiveness, just a slight smile, the kind of smile that people who knew him recognized as dangerous. Kelly tried to move things along. "Conor, how do you respond to that?" Conor leaned forward slightly, his Dublin accent clear and controlled. "I respond by asking Wayne a simple question. What makes you qualified to lecture anyone about being a role model?" The studio went completely silent. You could hear the cameras adjusting, the faint hum of studio lights, nothing else. Rooney's face tightened. What's that supposed to mean? It means, Conor said, his voice calm but with an unmistakable edge now, that for someone who's going to sit here on national television and judge other people's behavior, you have a pretty selective memory about your own. Rooney shifted in his seat. I've made mistakes, I've admitted that. Have you, though? Conor's tone was almost conversational, but every word landed with precision. Because I did my homework before I came here, Wayne, and I couldn't find a single interview where you properly apologized for hiring prostitutes while your wife was pregnant. Kelly Cates looked like she wanted to intervene, but couldn't find the words. The audience was frozen. This was live television, unfiltered, and it was going somewhere nobody expected. Rooney's face had gone red. That was dealt with privately. Was it? Conor continued, still calm, still controlled, because you gave interviews afterward where you blamed the tabloids for invading your privacy. You blamed the women for selling stories. But I didn't hear you take responsibility for the actual behavior, for cheating on your wife, for paying for sex, for doing it while she was carrying your child. The studio audience was completely silent now, some looking uncomfortable, others leaning forward, transfixed. Rooney tried to respond. That's ancient history. It's got nothing to do with... It's got everything to do with this. Conor cut him off sharply. You're sitting here judging me for controversies, for court cases, for public incidents, but you've been arrested for drunk driving, twice. You've been caught in multiple escort scandals. You've been photographed drunk and passed out in hotel rooms. And every single time, you either blamed someone else or you just moved on without ever properly owning it. So tell me, Wayne, what exactly qualifies you to call anyone else a bad role model? Rooney was visibly rattled now, his usual confident demeanor completely gone. His hands were gripping the desk, his jaw clenched. I've always tried to be honest about my mistakes. No, you haven't, Conor said flatly. You've been careful about your mistakes. There's a difference. You give these PR-written statements about learning and growing, but you never actually admit what you did was wrong. You never face it directly. Kelly finally found her voice. Conor, I think we should... No, Kelly, Conor said, not looking away from Rooney. Wayne wanted to have this conversation. He wrote columns about it. He brought it up on this show. So let's actually have it. He turned back to Rooney, his intensity increasing, but his voice never rising. You know what the difference between us is, Wayne? When I fuck up, I own it. I don't hide behind PR teams. I don't blame the media. I say, yeah, I did that. It was wrong. I'll deal with the consequences. But you've spent your entire career doing wrong things and then acting like you're the victim when people call you out. The DUI arrest, you blamed stress. The escort scandal, you blamed the tabloids. The public drunkenness, you blamed, what was it, mental health? Rooney's face had gone from red to pale. That's not fair. Conor leaned back slightly, his expression almost pitying now. What's not fair is you sitting in judgment of other people when your own record is worse than most of the people you criticize. What's not fair is you presenting yourself as this voice of morality and professionalism when everyone watching this show knows about your scandals. What's not fair is you never actually apologizing for any of it. The audience was utterly transfixed. This wasn't a debate anymore. This was an execution. Kelly made one more attempt to redirect. Perhaps we can... And let me be clear, Conor continued, ignoring her. I'm not perfect. I've done things I'm not proud of. I've been in court. I've had controversies. But I've never pretended to be a role model. I've never lectured other people about behavior. I've never positioned myself as morally superior. You have. And that's what makes this hypocrisy so galling. You're not just a person who made mistakes. You're a person who made mistakes and then appointed yourself as the judge of everyone else's mistakes. That's what I can't respect. The silence that followed was profound and uncomfortable. Wayne Rooney sat completely still, staring at the desk in front of him. His hands had stopped gripping the edge. His jaw was no longer clenched. He looked like a man who'd just been forced to see himself clearly for the first time in years. Kelly Cates, to her credit, let the silence sit. She understood that something significant was happening, and intervention would ruin it. The audience waited. The cameras captured every second, and then, so quietly that the audio engineers later had to boost it in the mix, Rooney spoke. "You're right." 3 words, but they changed everything. The audience murmured. Kelly's eyebrows raised. Conor's expression didn't change, but he was listening now, genuinely listening. Rooney looked up directly at Conor and continued, his voice stronger now, but carrying a weight of genuine emotion. "You're right. I have been a hypocrite. I've done things that were wrong, and I never properly apologized for them. I blamed other people. I blamed circumstances. I moved on without ever actually facing what I did." He paused, took a breath. "The escort scandal, that was me. Not the tabloids, not the women who sold stories. Me. I cheated on my wife when she was pregnant. That's indefensible. And I never said that clearly. I never owned it properly. The drunk driving, both times, that was me making dangerous, stupid choices. And instead of just saying I was wrong, I talked about stress and pressure, like that was an excuse. It wasn't." He looked directly into the camera now, as if speaking to someone beyond the studio. "I'm sorry. To my wife, to my kids, to everyone who's looked up to me and deserved better, I'm sorry. And you're right, Conor, I had no business judging you or anyone else when I never cleaned up my own mess properly." The studio audience didn't know how to react. A few people started clapping, then stopped, unsure if it was appropriate. Kelly looked genuinely moved, and Conor, to the surprise of everyone watching, didn't gloat, didn't press the advantage, didn't pile on. His voice when he spoke was gentle. "I appreciate you saying that, Wayne. That took guts." Rooney nodded, looking drained but somehow lighter. "Can I ask you something, though?" Conor continued. "Why now? Why did it take me calling you out on live television for you to finally say what you should have said years ago?" Rooney thought for a moment before answering. "Because nobody ever made me. Everyone around me, my agents, my PR people, the clubs I played for, they all protected me. They spun the stories, they managed the narratives, they made sure I never had to actually face the full weight of what I'd done. And over time, I started believing my own press releases. I started thinking that because I'd moved on, it was dealt with, but it wasn't. And it took you, someone with nothing to lose, someone who doesn't care about making me comfortable, to force me to look at it honestly. What happened next transformed the show from a confrontation into something more valuable, a real conversation." Kelly, sensing the shift, adjusted her approach. "Wayne, what do you think it says about sports culture that nobody forced you to face this until now?" Rooney thought carefully before responding. "I think it says that we protect our stars too much. We care more about their commercial value than their character. And I'm as guilty of that as anyone. I've benefited from that protection my whole career. But it doesn't help us become better people. It just helps us avoid consequences. And eventually, as we've just seen, the truth catches up anyway." Conor nodded. "And here's the thing, Wayne. I'm not trying to destroy you. I'm trying to get you to see that you can't have it both ways. You can't be protected from accountability for your own actions and then demand accountability from others. That's not how it works." Rooney agreed. "You're absolutely right, and I think that's been my problem. I wanted forgiveness for my mistakes without ever actually earning it through real accountability." The audience was fully engaged now, not watching a conflict, but witnessing two people working through something genuine. Kelly asked Conor, "Do you think athletes have a responsibility to be role models?" Conor's answer was thoughtful. "I think athletes have a responsibility to be honest. If you're going to be a role model, then actually model the behavior you want kids to follow.
But if you're going to make mistakes, which we all do, then model how to handle mistakes. Own them. Apologize genuinely. Learn from them. Don't hide behind PR statements and then judge others. He glanced at Rooney, and I think Wayne just did that. He owned it, on live television, in front of millions of people. That takes courage, and that's actually worth respecting. Rooney looked at him with something approaching gratitude. "Thank you for that, even though you had to drag it out of me." "Sometimes people need dragging," Conor said with a slight smile. "I know I have."
The show continued for another 20 minutes, but the dynamic had completely transformed. Rooney and Conor spoke to each other not as adversaries, but as two people who'd found unexpected common ground through brutal honesty. They discussed the pressure of fame, the difficulty of maintaining family relationships in the public eye, the struggle to separate their public personas from their private selves. At one point, Rooney said something that resonated deeply with viewers. "I think my biggest regret isn't the mistakes themselves, it's that I taught my kids, unintentionally, that you can do wrong things and then just move on without really addressing them. That's not the lesson I want them to learn. And until tonight, until Conor forced me to actually face it, I didn't realize that's what I was teaching them." Conor's response was unexpectedly personal. "My biggest fear is that my kids will see my controversies and think that's acceptable behavior. So I make sure every time something happens, I sit with them and I explain what I did wrong and why it was wrong. Not a PR explanation, a real one. They need to see that their dad is human and makes mistakes, but also that he owns those mistakes. That's the only way they'll learn to own theirs." The audience applauded genuinely now. This wasn't manufactured TV drama. This was real growth happening in real time. Kelly asked one final question. "Wayne, are you going to change how you approach commenting on other athletes after this?" Rooney nodded immediately. "Absolutely. I think I need to be a lot more careful about judging others when I haven't properly dealt with my own issues. And when I do criticize someone, I need to make sure I'm doing it from a place of genuine concern, not moral superiority. Because as Conor just proved, I don't have the moral high ground I thought I did." As the show ended, Rooney extended his hand to Conor. "Thank you," he said simply, "for not letting me get away with it." Conor shook his hand. "That's what real conversations look like, Wayne. Uncomfortable, but necessary." The moment the show ended, British media exploded. Within 30 minutes, clips of the confrontation had been viewed over 20 million times on social media. Rooney apologizes to Conor McGregor trended #1 on Twitter in the UK. WhatsApp groups across Britain and Ireland shared the footage with messages like, "Did you just see that?" and "I can't believe Rooney actually admitted it." The Daily Mail's headline the next morning, "The apology England has waited 15 years to hear." The Sun, despite having been the paper that originally exposed Rooney's scandals, ran with "Rooney finally says sorry." The Guardian's sports section published a think piece titled "Why It Took Conor McGregor to Get Wayne Rooney to Face His Past." Television review shows played the confrontation in full, analyzing every moment, every facial expression, every word. Sky Sports ratings for that episode were the highest for any sports debate show in 5 years. But the most significant responses came from ordinary viewers, particularly parents. Social media filled with comments like, "Finally showed my teenage son what real accountability looks like," and "Wayne Rooney just taught my kids a better lesson than any of his football ever did." The conversation had struck a nerve far beyond sports. It had touched on something universal, the difficulty of admitting you were wrong, the courage it takes to apologize publicly, and the value of someone caring enough to force you to face uncomfortable truths.
Rooney himself didn't appear on television for a week, but when he did, on Match of the Day 2, he addressed it directly without prompting. "I want to thank Conor McGregor," he said during a break in the analysis. "What happened on that show was uncomfortable, but it was necessary. I'd spent years avoiding proper accountability, and he didn't let me. That's what real friends do, even if you're not friends yet. I hope we can be."
In the months that followed, people close to Wayne Rooney noticed changes. His punditry became less judgmental, more reflective. When criticizing players, he'd often preface it with, "And I'm speaking as someone who made plenty of mistakes myself," or "I'm not on a moral high horse here, but..." The performative authority was gone, replaced by something more genuine. 3 months after the show, Rooney wrote a column in The Times titled "The Apology I Should Have Given Years Ago." In it, he detailed his past mistakes, not hiding behind PR language, but speaking plainly about his failures as a husband, as a father, as a role model. He specifically thanked Conor for forcing him to confront what he'd been avoiding. The column was shared widely, not by sports fans, but by people in recovery programs, in therapy, in situations where accountability mattered. It became a resource, an example of what genuine apology and ownership looked like. Conor and Wayne developed an unlikely friendship, not close, not constant, but genuine. They'd exchange messages occasionally, usually about fatherhood, about managing public life, about the difficulty of being human while the world watches. 6 months after the show, they appeared together on a podcast discussing masculinity and accountability. The episode, titled "When Your Hero Becomes Real," was downloaded over 8 million times. Their dynamic was comfortable now, almost brotherly, 2 men who'd gone through something difficult together and come out better for it. At one point, the host asked Rooney if he resented Conor for the public confrontation. Rooney's answer was immediate, the opposite: "I'm grateful. Nobody else in my life cared enough to make me uncomfortable. Everyone just wanted me to be Wayne Rooney the brand. Conor treated me like Wayne Rooney the person, and persons need to be held accountable. Brands can hide, people can't, or at least they shouldn't." What happened on Sky Sports that November evening wasn't just a viral moment or a dramatic television confrontation. It was a masterclass in what real accountability looks like and why it matters. Wayne Rooney had spent 15 years living with unresolved guilt, protecting his image while avoiding the hard work of genuine repentance. He'd said the words "I'm sorry" before in carefully worded statements crafted by PR professionals, but he'd never actually meant them in a way that cost him anything. Conor McGregor didn't accept those hollow apologies. He forced Rooney to face the specific things he'd done, the specific harm he'd caused, the specific hypocrisy of judging others while never properly addressing his own failures. And he did it without cruelty, without humiliation for its own sake, but with a determination that the truth mattered more than comfort. What made the moment powerful wasn't Conor's attack, it was Rooney's response. He could have gotten defensive, he could have walked off the set, he could have doubled down and made it worse. Instead, he did the hardest thing a public figure can do. He admitted he was wrong, specifically, plainly, without qualification. And in doing so, he showed millions of people, especially young men who'd grown up idolizing him, what courage actually looks like. Not the courage to score goals or win trophies, but the courage to look at yourself honestly and admit you failed. The lesson isn't that everyone needs to have their mistakes thrown in their face on live television. It's that we all need people in our lives who care enough to not let us hide from our own behavior. Wayne Rooney needed Conor McGregor to force him to face what he'd been avoiding, and Conor cared enough about accountability, even for someone he barely knew, to make that confrontation happen. That's not cruelty, that's love, the hard kind, the kind that forces growth instead of enabling comfort. And sometimes that's exactly what we need.
What you just witnessed was more than a heated television debate. It was a reminder that real apologies cost something, that accountability isn't comfortable, and that sometimes the people who challenge us the hardest are doing us the greatest favor. If this made you think differently about forgiveness, about owning mistakes, about the difference between PR apologies and real ones, then share it. Subscribe for more moments where comfortable lies get destroyed by uncomfortable truths. And remember, we all need a Conor McGregor in our lives, someone who won't let us hide from what we've done, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts.